throwing the heat in the heat. It's going to be amazing.
I got to tell you, and by the way, I'm trying to get the stream going live, but it's telling me there's an error message and it cannot do that right now. So for those of you wondering where the stream is, give me oh, look, we're live. That's all you got to do is just talk bad about it for a second.
I was going to say over here, it says that it's on.
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay.
Join us on the stream at facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. Actually, you know what we could do? I could go live on the stream during the break from my phone, give people a live tour of the control room.
Well,
is that too behind the scenes?
From the doorway, you could.
Well, yeah, I'm not taking you in there. There are state secrets in there. The deep state operates out of that building.
Yeah, you're not allowed in there. So,
no, our keys definitely do not work to that door.
Then how would we know? Because we were told. It's not like we ever walked up and tried to use the key, because we wouldn't do such a thing.
Definitely have never tried to get somewhere we're not supposed to be in the building. Not a thing we would do.
No.
Never. Not at all.
Not us.
Busy day on the broadcast today. Lot to get into. I just noticed your name on the stream is Hugger Hada.
It's been there since yesterday.
#Hug Life.
You just didn't notice it yesterday.
I did not notice it yesterday. I did not. Why do we bring up hugs? I'm glad you asked. Hypothetical listener, I made up for this exact situation. The reason we bring up hugs because tomorrow, Lonzo and I, fingers crossed and all things pending going the way they're supposed to, tomorrow evening, ya boys, the host of the show for ya boys, are going to be live at the Spartanburgers game over in Spartanburger at historic Duncan Park. We'll be hanging out, doing baseball game things throughout the day. And if you want to go, well, allow me. Go to the website. Go to ESPNUpstate.com, ESPNUpstate.com, ESPNUpstate.com. And right there on that front page, you are going to see a button that says register for Spartanburgers tickets. We are giving away 4 family 4-packs to Thursday night's game. Lonzo and I will be there. And if you win one of the family 4-packs and come to the game and find Lonzo and tell him that you want one of the tickets, he'll give you a hug because he's a big hugger.
No, I just want to warn you, because we had this conversation in the office earlier.
It's going to be 97 degrees.
I'm a sweater.
Yeah.
I am a sweater.
Yeah.
So, I mean, enter at your own peril. That's all I'm saying, because
it might get dicey for you.
Well, it will definitely. You might need a towel. So, I mean, that's on you. If you're willing to come on in there and yeah.
Gross.
I suggest you don't do it just for that reason. And I'm not going to, do jumping jacks and push-ups and things just to make sure that I sweat extra hard so no one would hug me, because I would never do such a thing.
No, of course not.
I'm curious.
Lonzo would definitely not do simple things to mess with other people. It's not his style.
No, it's not.
Not his style.
I'm not. I'm too bro. I'm just, just kind of loose and going with the flow. Are we singing tomorrow?
Are we singing tomorrow?
I'm just curious. I was just thinking.
Nobody asked me about that.
Yeah.
Little 7th inning stretch, Harry action.
I'm just wondering if we're singing tomorrow.
Nobody mentioned that.
If someone would be listening, I just want to suggest that we sing tomorrow.
Damn it. Now I'm uncomfortable. Let's talk sports.
Why, dude? We can rock the harmony, guaranteed.
To the ball game.
So no, we'll just. I mean, you got to do the manly, get in there with some bass type thing.
Take me out to the game.
There we go.
Take me out to the game.
Ooh, I like that.
Lunch breakdown.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
You guys are here.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Pour me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. You know, I just combined Macho Man with Scott Stapp from Creed in the same voice.
It's all about the facial expressions. You did go there for sure.
Root for the home team. Top 3 things you got to know before you go talking sports with your friends, family, coworkers, or the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. Here's the scuttlebutt, the things that you are going to need to know about before you sit down to do just that. The United States men's national shooty hoop teams has steadied the ship. They are back to what we expected them to look like. They are not the 1992 Dream Team. They are not the 1990 squad. They're not the 08 Kobe, LeBron, D Wade squad, but you expect them to win all the easy ones and most of the not so easy ones. France, a not so easy one. They dropped it, but a full 40-minute game out of Team USA, 120-66 winners over Iran. Iran so far away from being anywhere in contention in this game. Flock of Seagulls reference. You're welcome. The victory was the first of these Olympics for Team USA and a welcome bounce back after they blew multiple second-half leads to lose on Sunday against France. The Americans are still trying to blend a roster that came together very late, does not have a ton of chemistry, but that one looked good. There was not much resistance from Iran, and again, that's exactly what you need. In games where you are clearly the class on the court, you got to go get them dubs, and that was a dub that was not just necessary, but all around required. It was a throwback game with a lot of offense, very little defense played by Iran. All 12 U.S. players scored at least 4. Dame Lillard led the way with 21. The Americans shot 55% from the floor and 49% from behind the arc. That was one big concern about game number 1 at France. Lots of 3-point shots that, didn't go in, but 50% just about from 3 points is going to help you out dramatically. This was effectively a controlled scrimmage. But the good news is they look controlled. They look like they knew what they were doing. A little bit better in the sets, a little bit more chemistry. And, of course, with very little defense in front of them, they got to the bucket and scored.
How many NBA players on the Iranian team?
1?
Really?
It's not a good team.
Oh, there's actually one.
It's not a good team.
So are they? I don't want to be the negative guy here, but are they really back on track because they beat someone by the amount that they need to? Let's see them do that if they play France again. Let's see them do that to Australia. Let's see them do that to some good teams.
Well, I agree. I'm not. Let me be abundantly clear. I am not sitting here ready to proclaim that the U.S. is back. I'm absolutely not going to sit here and tell you that we ready.
And by the way,
we ready for y'all.
I want them to win the gold. I don't want them to
I would
lose.
hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like see they're not going to. No, I'm not. I want them to win.
We will find out on Saturday when the United States takes on the Czech Republic, a team that's a little bit better than Iran. They lost to France by 20, though, so they're still not top tier. But the U.S. has to win that game. We know that France, who knocked off the United States in Group A back on Sunday, also has a 20-point victory over the Czech Republic. So the Americans not only need to beat the Czech Republic, but they need a miracle for Iran to beat France if they want to win the group, which is, frankly, unlikely. That next game comes up again on Sunday. We'll talk more Team USA basketball later on in the show. Item number 2, quarterback scenarios playing out around the National Football League. We have got Adam Schefter talking about 2 different stories right now. I'm going to start with cut 4, if you don't mind, please, Lonzo. We'll start with Aaron Rodgers. We know that there has been some drama between Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, but there's been discussion of concessions between the Pack and A-Rod of the football persuasion. He is now back with the Packers in camp. Here's what Shefty had to say.
I think that the Green Bay Packers get this season to try to impress upon him, if it's not too late by now, after 16 seasons, that yes, we will include you in personnel decisions. Yes, you will have some say in what goes on in this franchise. Yes, some of the people that you've had disagreements with, they are looking out for your best interests. They get a chance to put forward their best foot. I don't know whether that's going to be enough to change his mind. I know his feelings were pretty strong, but not strong enough to concede that he's willing to go back for at least one more season. But the mechanisms are put into place to give him the ability to have the freedom to leave after this season if that's what he wants, in much the way that New England gave Tom Brady the freedom to leave after that season in New England, which, again, he eventually did. If we go back 1 week in time, I think the real sense and feeling was that Aaron Rodgers was getting ready and planning to not report to training camp and to have this drama and saga go on for a long period of time. And over the course of this weekend, the Packers recognized the trouble that lay ahead. And I think they put into motion a process where they came up with these concessions to offer Aaron Rodgers. And you see, they have nothing to do with money. Aaron Rodgers had the chance to take the largest contract in sports history other than the one given to Lionel Messi, and he didn't take that deal. So it's not about money. The biggest concession that Aaron Rodgers extracts out of this arrangement, if it is finalized, and it hasn't been yet, but it's nearing that point, the biggest concession he'll get is the ability to determine where he will play in 2022. So the Packers get back their quarterback with the chance to try to placate him this year and show he can be happy in Green Bay. And Aaron Rodgers gets the ability to move on from Green Bay after this season if that's what he so chooses.
So, A-Rod of the Football Persuasion said the Packers have probably bought themselves a year. We have heard from some former Packers, current Packers, that have basically said it's up to the Pack what happens after this. Now, we know that Rodgers got some concessions in his contract, including the last year of his contract being knocked out. He is now out of Green Bay after this year in an agreement with the Pack. Now, how do they get him back? It's very simple. Win a Super Bowl and prove to Aaron Rodgers that you remain committed to him. It's, a lot of people, myself included, heard 16 seasons in Green Bay. 16 seasons. Like, damn. A-Rod been around for a hot minute at this point. Yet it seems like every couple of years for the past 4, 5, 6, every year it feels like the Packers are doing whatever they can to move on to the next level, to move on to the next step in the quarterback progression. Aaron Rodgers is basically saying, show me that you guys are investing in me the way that I want to be invested in order to stay here. I have lost the bet, Lonzo, that Aaron Rodgers would not be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers this year. But I also see how much went into me losing that bet, how much ground the Packers gave, how much they had to give to Rodgers, the fact that they had to basically terminate a year on his contract in order to beg him to show up to camp. This situation is not over. It's just been placated for a season, which if you're the Packers, I think is the best you could ask for.
Yeah, but are you surprised that they did everything they did? I'm not. It's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to do that. And this is just another case where a player decided that they were going to take their fate into their own hands, and he wins, at least for a year. And do you believe that he'll go somewhere else next year, or just keep doing this and stay where he is?
No, I think he's done. Well, let me phrase that. I said I thought he was done already. I thought he said it was done already this year. I didn't think he was going to be showing up this year. But I can't imagine, unless the Packers just lay down for him, right? They just bend over backwards for him. They trade Jordan Love to get him. But they've already brought Randall Cobb back. That was one of his demands. I want my old guy back. I want my dude back. Randall Cobb is now back with the Packers because Aaron Rodgers wanted him to be. That wasn't a contract they wanted to pick up, but they did. Now they got to lay down for him next year, too, if they want to keep him around. Question is, does Aaron Rodgers of the Football Persuasion maintain NFC MVP level play? Or does he fall off a little bit and the Packers can feel justified and go ahead and move into Jordan Love?
No way he falls off. Last year was an excellent season. You give him more weapons, he's going to do even better. I am curious, though, what other quarterbacks in the league could do this?
Mahomes, Wilson, who did. Brady. Lamar, maybe. So there is a handful of quarterbacks that could pull this off. The other ones, more than likely, would say, see ya. Yeah, I would agree. I would say if we started at the top, Because I did hear in something I heard Shefty say this morning on Greeny's show that I didn't love. He said, in the future moving forward, we're going to see quarterbacks start shaking the tree just to see how much they can get because of this. I don't know.
Well,
Rodgers can do it. Mahomes can do it. Brady can do it.
CNBA model. That's what it is.
That's exactly what he called it, too. He said, we are seeing the NBA-ification of the NFL with this. And it's only at one position. No other position can you do this. It's only at quarterback.
I mean, you look at the most important positions on the team, on the football team, and this is the only position that could get away with it.
Rodgers can do it. Mahomes can do it. Brady can do it. Deshaun from last year could do it. Dak Prescott's on the line. Josh Allen needs one more year. If he has another great year this year, he could do it. Russell Wilson can do it. Lamar Jackson's on the line. Matt Ryan's on the line, and I can't think of anybody outside of that. Maybe Kyler Murray's getting close, but he'd need another year. Maybe Baker Mayfield's getting close, but he needs another year. Trevor Lawrence needs about 2 great years before he's on that list.
Yeah, I was going to say let him play it down first before you. Yeah.
Outside of that, nobody else can pull it. Nobody can pull off what Aaron Rodgers has pulled off. But then again, nobody's done what Aaron Rodgers has done. Real quick, clip number 5, if you don't mind. So while we're at it, I'm gonna play this and save number 3 for you in just a minute. But here is what Adam Schefter had to say about the situation going down in H-Town with Deshaun Watson.
If he hadn't shown up, then it's a different story. But now that he's there and he started the clock, they have to listen to offers and they have to move him. And you heard his quarterback coach say he's 100% certain that Deshaun Watson is going to be traded. And that's been the feeling around the league throughout the course of the offseason. The only question is when the Texans would activate active trade discussions. There have been casual, informal talks that have gone on. But as Chris Mortensen said today, they are seeking a plethora of picks and players from any team that they make a deal with. The question that some teams have is how much is Watson's value devalued by everything that is going on off the field that still is unresolved, that we still don't know how it's going to turn out. Deshaun Watson has insisted he's done nothing wrong. The accusations continue to pour in. We'll see how the situation shakes out, but Deshaun Watson's future is not in Houston. Well, somebody is going to make, I believe, an attractive offer to the Houston Texans. Will it be 100 cents on the dollar the way they would like with all of these accusations still out there right now? I don't know that they're going to get full value on the dollar, but they're going to get a lot back for a player who is still one of the top young talents in the league who could have to be disciplined here. We still don't know how that's going to turn out. Maybe there's discipline, maybe there's not. A lot of accusations, Deshaun Watson's side of the story. So again, there is a lot that is unresolved as the NFL and Houston police continue to investigate this situation. But the Houston Texans are ready to move on from Deshaun Watson. And now the question is, which team steps up?
Yup, Houston's done. Told you. No shock there. You can't carry this dude. Can't carry this dude with what he's got going on. You can't do it. 10 more complaints filed this week. These with the Houston Police Department. Some of them could be the trigger for a criminal investigation.
I think that's the big question. How can you have this many accusations and it not be go to criminal court? I don't get it unless there's no evidence that. I mean, after this amount, have you heard about this many accusations on something and it not going to criminal court?
No. So the thing is, all the original complaints were filed in a civil court, which does not, by definition, trigger a criminal investigation. Doesn't have to. It can, doesn't have to. The complaints that were filed this week are the first ones that are much more likely to trigger a criminal investigation. There's another report that came out today that said the Texans are obviously looking to move on from Deshaun Watson, but part of the reason that Nick Caserio does not want to do that is because he understands at this point that there's a better than average chance that Deshaun doesn't play at all, and he doesn't want to sour any relationships with any other GMs by giving them Deshaun and then Deshaun not being a guy and creating a situation there where they may sour that relationship and further interaction between Caserio and other teams it can't happen anymore. It's ugly, dude. It's ugly. That's all it comes down to. All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us at 71307 on the Ingles Market text line, 71307. When we come back, last thing I got to say about this Simone Biles situation. I got some sound from Simone explaining herself. I got some sound from Allie Raceman. Remember, she was on the London squad, the Fab Five, that really kind of became almost kind of national heroes with their run a few years back. She'll tell you what she thinks about it. And then I'll give you one last round of thoughts about why, if you are bagging on Simone, you should, well, not do that anymore. That's coming up next on The Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate. By the way, everybody on the stream, you're all fired. None of you told me ZZ Top was playing in Simpsonville today. Absolute negligence, asleep at the wheel.
Download the free Score app. Lightning fast updates so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. That's your Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders on ESPN Upstate.
Training Camp 2021. It all starts this Saturday in Spartanburg. Join ESPN Upstate for our special Panthers preview show from 4 to 6 p.m. Saturday. Live from camp, hosted by Mark Ryan and Rob Brown.
Do you know the enemy? The enemy.
ESPN Upstate. Locally by TLC Motors, South Carolina's high-volume, low-profit dealer.
Fall is back. ESPN Upstate welcomes the Carolina Panthers to Wofford College for Training Camp 2021. It all starts Saturday, July 31st in Spartanburg. Join ESPN Upstate for our special Panthers preview show from 4 to 6 p.m. Saturday, live from camp, hosted by Mark Ryan and Rob Brown. Powered locally by TLC Motors, South Carolina's high-volume, low-profit dealer. TLCmotors.com. TLCmotors.com is your best new car alternative. Lifted trucks, sports cars, luxury cars, SUVs. TLCmotors.com has you covered. TLCmotors.com. This report is sponsored by Audible. Make it a summer to remember with Audible. It delivers everything you love listening to all in one.
Did you word that way on purpose?
What's that?
You didn't see? Look at what you posted.
On Twitter?
Can't fix it now.
our brain room like listen, idiot. So if you're curious what the brain room looks like, with the big room with all the wires and switches and tubes that carry our voice from here to your speakers looks like, I just posted it on our Twitter account at twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate. And also ignore the typo because, and this is scientifically and empirically provable, I am an idiot. So, it worked out just fine.
The best part about that room is at night when there are no lights on. Just looking.
There's lights. They're just little ones that blink from the
No,
other
what
side
I
of the
mean
room.
is you look in there and it's like Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool.
Let's finish up. I'm going to say finish up this Simone Biles conversation. You guys, as you know, you guys are welcome to bring up any discussion you want on the show. That's why the phone lines stay open. But this Simone Biles conversation, grab me clip number 7, if you don't mind, Lonzo. Simone Biles finally sat down and addressed this conversation. You're going to hear 3 clips here. The first one is from the floor immediately after she dropped out of the team competition a couple of days ago. The second 2 are from a press conference that she did as we move towards the remaining individual events that Simone Biles is still currently qualified and entered in. Here is what Simone had to say about her decision.
Feel good. I'm in shape. Emotionally, that kind of varies on the time and the moment, coming here to the Olympics and being the head star of the Olympics is not an easy feat. So we're just trying to take it one day at a time and we'll see.
I say put mental health first, because if you don't, then you're not going to enjoy your sport and you're not going to succeed as much as you want to. So it's okay sometimes to even sit out the big competitions to focus on yourself, because it shows how strong of a competitor and person that you really are, rather than just battle through it. No injury, thankfully. And that's why I took a step back, because I didn't want to do something silly out there and get injured. So I thought it was best if these girls took over and did the rest of the job, which they absolutely did. They're Olympic silver medalists now, and they should be really proud of themselves for how well they did last minute having to go in. And it's been really stressful, this Olympic Games. I think just as a whole, not having an audience, there are a lot of different variables going into it. It's been a long week. It's been a long Olympic process. It's been a long year. So just a lot of different variables, and I think we're just a little bit too stressed out, but we should be out here having fun, and sometimes that's not the case.
So there's Simone. She says, look, here's the deal. I'm down, I'm out. I'm not a good head spot. We told you yesterday that it actually made sense for Simone to bail. She was scoring so low during her runs that had she continued at the subpar element she was performing at, the Americans would have had a hard time getting to silver, forget gold. So it made sense. But I wanted to share with you a Facebook post that popped up earlier today, because the big conversation we heard yesterday, was, well, she could have had her Carrie Strug moment. Carrie Strug, American icon. She could have been the new Carrie Strug. There's a gentleman by the name of Byron Heath who shared a Facebook post that I came across this morning regarding the situation that I thought was pretty damn good. Here's what Byron said. I won't read the whole thing to you, but I'm going to read the important parts. He said, he basically said, I'm going to paraphrase the front before I get into the quote at the end. He said that he sat down to show his daughters Carrie Strug's famous one-leg vault, the one that we all can see in our brain, where she comes down on the one leg, her already injured leg. And he said that my girls watched raptly as Strug fell and then limped back to leap again. But for some reason, I wasn't as inspired watching this time. In fact, I felt a little sick. Maybe being a father and teacher has made me soft, but all I could see was how Carrie Strug looked at her coach, Bella Carolai, with pleading, terrified eyes while he shouted back, "You can do it," over and over again. My daughters didn't cheer when Strug landed her second vault. Instead, they frowned in concern as she collapsed in agony and frantic tears. One of my girls asked, why did she jump again if she was hurt? I made some inane reply about the heart of a champion or Olympic spirit, but in the back of my mind, I thought was festering. She shouldn't have jumped again. The more the thought echoed, the stronger my realization became. Coach Caroline should have gotten his visibly injured athlete medical help immediately. Now that I have 2 young daughters in gymnastics, I expect their safety to be the coach's number one priority. Instead, Coach Bella told Strug to vault again, and he got what he wanted, a gold medal that was more important to him than his athlete's health. I'm sure people will say Carrie Strug was a competitor. She wanted to push through the injury, and that's probably true. But since the last Olympics, we've also learned these athletes were put into positions where they could be systematically abused, both emotionally and physically, all while being inundated with win-at-all-cost messaging. A teenager under those conditions should have been protected and told no medal is worth the risk of a permanent injury. In fact, we now know that Strug's vault wasn't even necessary to clinch the gold. The U.S. already had an insurmountable lead. Nevertheless, Bella told her to vault again according to his own recounting of their conversation. Strug told Caroline, I can't feel my leg. Caroline said, we got to go one more time. Shake it out. Strug asked, do I have to do this again? Caroline wanted to know, can you? Strug said, I don't know yet. I will do it. I will. The injury forced Strug's retirement at 18. Dominic Marciano, a generational talent, also retired from injury shortly after. They were top gymnasts, literally pushed to the breaking point and then put out to pasture. Coach Caroline and Larry Nassar, the serial sexual abuser, continued their long careers while the athletes were treated as disposable resources. Today, Simone Biles, the greatest gymnast of all time, chose to step back from the competition, citing concerns for mental and physical health. I've already seen comments and posts about how Biles failed her country or quit on us or can't be the greatest if she can't handle the pressure. Those statements are no different than Coach Caroline telling an injured teen with wide, frightened eyes, we got to go one more time, shake it out. The subtext here is, our gold medal is more important than your well-being. Our athletes should not have to destroy themselves to meet our standards. If giving empathetic, authentic support to our Olympians means we'll earn less gold medals, I'm happy to make that trade. Here's the message I hope we can send to Simone Biles. You are an outstanding athlete, a true role model, and a powerful woman, and nothing will change that. Please don't sacrifice your emotional or physical well-being for our entitlement or national pride. We are proud of you for being brave to compete and proud of you for having the wisdom to know when to step back. Your choice will make an even better example to our daughters than you were before. We're still rooting for you, end quote. Nailed it. Spot on. Exactly what I wanted to say yesterday, but was not as eloquent when put on the spot. I understand the premise of wanting the GOATs to have the Mamba mentality, right? Shooting free throws on 2 busted ACLs because that's what it takes to win. And I get that. But you got to understand, we celebrate that for a reason. We celebrate it because it is so rare. We celebrate it because it is not normal to be willing to put your own well-being to the side, your own physical health to the side, in order to be the best at what you do. It's not something, it's something that 1% of people have, even at that level of competition. Simone said, I'm not in a good place and I will do bad. I will perform poorly because of this. Ragging on Simone for being a quitter. My favorite thing is so many average people, of which I am one, admittedly, so many average people bagging on a woman that's got a bag full of trophies and gold medals for being a quitter. Because she went, you know what? I'm in a spot where I will not perform the way I need to perform for us to win a gold. I will get out of the way. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable, Lonzo.
I have no problem with her stepping back. I do have some problems with what the piece that you read, and it comes down to this: if you're a coach, and it's got to be hard being a coach. So at some point, you got to decide, well, I can't push them any further because people will think badly of me. So how do you know where that line is? How do you know when to stop? As a coach, you're supposed to, especially the best coaches, are supposed to be able to look at that athlete and go, I know they have another level. I know they can reach it. All they need to do is be pushed. But now they're supposed to take a step back because they're worried that maybe they'll go too far and people on the internet will think badly of them. So how do you know when to not push? So should all coaches step back and just let the athletes do what they think is that they can get out of them and never push them at all ever again?
So I understand that. And as somebody who is coached, granted at very low levels, like Pee Wee and JV middle school levels, I get how that is a tough spot to be in. Tell you a quick anecdote. Anecdotes are not evidence for a point, but I'm telling mine anyway. See that lump on my thumb there, Zoe? Is that right there? That little bump?
Yes.
That is scar tissue because in 10th grade football, I fell and I tore every tendon and ligament in my thumb. For those of you on the stream, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate. I'll see if I can line it up. All right. See this little bump on my thumb right there? It's tough to see. Anyway, that is all scar tissue. I tore every ligament and tendon in my thumb. It's called a gamekeeper's thumb. My thumb was hanging. You could flick it and it would wobble back and forth on my arm. When that happened at a football practice at Choctawhatchee High School in 10th grade, my defensive line coach, I was playing defensive end that year. I won't tell you his name because I don't want to besmirch him. But my defensive line coach, who I can tell you off the air if you want to know it, looks at me when I said, "Coach, I'm messed up, man, and my thumb's hanging." And he says, "Hey, you are hurt, but you are not injured. Get back on the line." And I went back through practice. Well, I went to see an orthopedic surgeon because for about 3 days, it hurt bad. Like, couldn't move my hand bad. And when I saw that guy, the orthopedic surgeon, whose son was the bassist for Creed, by the way, there's a fun fact that is irrelevant. When I saw him, what he told me was, had you waited and had you put any more physical strain on that thumb, you could have lost function of it. You could have lost the use of that thumb, perhaps had to have it amputated. I might have had to go the rest of my life without a thumb on my left hand. Why? So I could run through a few more reps at practice because I was in pain but not injured. There are lines. Simone clearly hit hers. Her number showed you that. 844-477-3776. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Heard somebody else make a comment about it yesterday that I want to address. We'll do one more quick segment on this. Then we'll get to some football after that. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. I got to stop going so long in the first segments. I'm getting to Mark Ryan length the first segment now. So I will stop.
I have all kinds of comments. I'm not going to make any.
Feel free. You want me to turn the stream off?
No.
All right. Tonight's Dynamite. We get Lance Archer versus Hikuleo. The Elite versus Hangman Page and Dark Order.
That's like Haku's son or grandson. Yeah, he was in the audience last week after Lance Archer won the IGWP, whatever that is, from Moxley, and he came into the ring afterwards. As a big, he's really tall. He's a good looking kid too. So
looks young.
Wouldn't shock me if Archer doesn't drop it right away.
What a 1 week turnaround.
Yeah, well.
Santana Ortiz versus FTR. Santana Ortiz with Conan versus FTR.
Yeah.
Christian Cage, Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus versus Hardy Family. Jericho versus Cage has the potential to be incredible.
The Trials of Jericho. This is his second trial.
I kind of love it, to tell you the truth.
I do, but I think he needs to lose.
Oh, you don't want Jericho MJF in a
No, I do, but it's just it's building him to a place where he already is in the company, I guess. So I don't know. I think there'll be some sort of swerve at the end where it looks like he's going to get a shot at MJF.
I like it from the premise of he's building to where he already is, but the point is that MJF doesn't feel like he deserves to be there, and this is his way to prove it. Jericho's going to prove it to him.
I just keep waiting for him to take time off because I listened to his podcast and his band is getting ready to start doing some major touring.
He's going away soon.
That's what I think. Yeah. Including a European tour.
Yeah.
He may fly back and do a show, but with protocols and things, I'm not sure that it works that way.
And Tony Khan will announce a major new live event.
So when does Daniel Bryan show up, or Bryan Danielson?
I was supposed to go to this show tonight, and if he shows up tonight, or Punk show ups, and I'm going to be infuriated that I didn't. I just had something come up that I can't avoid.
30 seconds. QC Kinetics in the next break. Would they have them show up on a regular show?
Do they consider this a regular show?
They're naming all their.
Yeah.
They're naming
it's
them all.
Dynamite, but also it's not, you know?
They're naming them all. And if you name them all, it takes away some of the specialness, I suppose. It makes them sound more episodic, more, I don't know, whatever, but.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is ESPN Upstate, wrapping up our conversation on Simone Biles. Your thoughts are welcome at 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Lonzo brings up a good point, man. This attitude that I have, admittedly, can make a coach's job tough, right? To come up with a situation where you've got to make a determination about whether you push a kid who is maybe right on the verge of taking the next step in his progression as an athlete and just needs a little push and encouragement, versus getting to a spot where if a kid says, Coach, I've got anxiety, depression, and injury, and I just can't do it, understanding when is the time to go, okay, all right, I get it. Here's the thing. What you said, Lonzo, is absolutely going to prove an issue in a lot of traditional sports here in the States. Do you think Simone Biles, the most decorated and talented a gymnast that the Olympic Committee changed the rules because she was too much better than everybody else?
And put added pressure on her by doing that.
Yep. I don't think Simone Biles is the type of chick that's going to get to the Olympics and then go, yeah, I don't want to do this. Unless she really doesn't want to do it, right? I think Simone, of all people, has probably earned the right to decide when she wants a day off, even if it is from a competition. That, of course, we want America to win all the golds. Rah, rah, shish, boom, bah, go Team USA. But at the end of the day, even though it's the Olympics, it's still sports.
Well, yeah, and even though she's an amateur athlete, you got to think of another angle. How many of her sponsors does she let down when she doesn't do that? And I know it's also pressure, but it's also money that you've taken to do something, and then you don't do it.
I mean, I get it. But at the same time, Simone Biles is the most visible Olympian since Michael Phelps. She's everywhere. If you get Simone to slap your logo on the shoulder of her warm-ups, even if she never does another gymnastics routine competitively, she's fine. You're good. You're getting your money.
I'm just looking at all the angles here.
I get it. No, I completely understand. Texture says, I seriously wonder how much one more gold medal actually matters to all of these bleeps who are calling out Simone. It is ridiculous. And I think that's what that Facebook post I read was trying to point out, right? At the end of the day, Lonzo, how many gold medals did we win in the last Olympics as a country?
A bunch.
Yeah, but none of us know. Was it 25? Was it 30? Was it 35? Was it 40?
If I recall, in the summer games, I think we usually win those. So whatever amount it took to win.
Yeah. But we don't. The point is, we don't know. In one gold medal, at the risk of, and by the way, as we have pointed out, and I think this is the most important part, had Simone continued to compete at the level she was competing in before she withdrew, we might not have won silver. Forget gold. She didn't cost us gold. She won us silver by having the humility to go, I am underperforming. Got into a conversation with the guy at the bar last night. He said, you don't do this if you're a top-level athlete. My question was, if you were in the NBA Finals, Lonzo, and you sent out Devin Booker, and Devin Booker started the game going 2 of 22 from the floor, even though he is the franchise, he goes 2 of 22 to start a game. You're sitting him for a little while, right? Let him get his head right.
I don't know about that.
Oh, I am.
You got to let him work his way through it.
Nah.
It depends on what your options are. If you don't have a backup that's capable of even making 2 shots, then you don't put him in there just to get that guy out of there, because that guy is going to work his way through it.
Yeah. See, and that's why there's Pops and Krzyzewski's and Willie Greens all over the place, because everybody's got a good philosophy. I throw a guy out there, I don't care if it's LeBron. If he goes 2 of 22 to start, he's riding pine until I find the right guy. And if I go through my whole bench and nobody can do it, fine.
Depends on the character of the guy. If I know that this guy's kind of a prima donna, if I sit him down, then he's going to pout and he's not going to try as hard for the next couple games. I leave him out there. So it's different for each individual.
All right, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us in at 71307 on the Ingles Market text line. 71307 is the number. You can tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo and Word, at ESPN Upstate. Come back, wrap up hour number 1 after this. When we get to hour number 2, we revisit the expansion talk because there are more voices chiming in. That's coming up on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
See kinetics.
Our friends at QC Kinetics want support the good ones. You can absolutely teach a kid who's down 4-1 and getting shellacked, hey, man, this is a lesson about perseverance, about losing with grace and dignity, about bouncing back. It's another thing to have a girl with a beat-up ankle saying, I can't feel my leg, and telling her, suck it up, buttercup, I need a medal. You understand? There's a difference. And there are going to be some very blurred lines here. Very blurred lines. But it sounds like the Little League coach there saw that line and realized what side of it that kid was on and taught him a very important lesson to learn. But if the kid goes, Coach, I can't feel my wrist. It hurts. And he goes, suck it up. I need 2 more hits out of you. Texter says the adults are definitely the only bad part of Little League sports. He ain't wrong. I've got some stories. Quick break. College football expansion talk when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show, what do you want to talk about? All right, what's your name? What's your name? Okay, hang on, Dan.
The action courtesy the Nationals Radio Network 6-4 the final over the Phillies on Tuesday night. National shortstop Trey Turner left the game in the first after testing positive for COVID-19. The Marlins with a 7-3 win over the Orioles in Baltimore. The Yankees beat the Rays 4-3. The Red Sox and Blue Jays postponed at Fenway.
Blue Cheese.
Download the free Score app.
Rhymes with blue cheese.
Never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. That's your Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders on ESPN Upstate.
Have you heard the Rob Brown Show?
And this is where the 3 post-game shows on Sunday City. Yes, that was the they live outside in the lake behind my apartment. And they do not shut up ever. That is the honking of the great Canadian geese, which to be frank though, I kind of wish they'd go back to Canada 5:30 every morning. Every morning I gotta deal with that crap. You hear it? Can you still hear it?
Yeah, we all can still hear them.
They are 6 feet from my window, and they are there all friggin' day. And if a leaf falls, they honk at it. If somebody on the other side of an apartment starts a car, they honk at it. If a squirrel runs across the yard, they honk at it. Starting at 5:15 to 5:30 in the morning and ending basically never. Stream. Well done, Steven. Well done indeed.
Whereas I hid my laughter as much as I could, Rob just went straight on guffaw.
Oh, I'm not putting it up to tell people why I'm laughing. Steven knows and we know. Our Numerated House of the Rob Brown Show's right back here on ESPN Upstate. Rob, Lonzo, you be a part of it, won't you? 844-477-3776, 844-GSP ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Start your text with ESPN so that we can read it on the air. By the way, in case you missed it, all one of you that might have. Coming up tomorrow evening, Lonzo and I are going to be live at the Spartanburgers game over at historic Duncan Park in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We are going to be doing an ESPN Upstate night. We will be hanging out, doing various activities throughout the ballpark, playing around with you guys up in the stands, having some fun, and we want you to be there. First off, if you want tickets, you can go to thespartanburgers.com to purchase them, or you can go to our website, which is espnupstate.com. espnupstate.com. Go there, and on the homepage, you're going to see a link that says register for Spartanburgers tickets. You can register to win a family 4-pack to every single remaining home Spartanburgers game. Register for as many games as you want to go to. We've got family 4-packs to every remaining Spartanburgers home game, and that includes Thursday's matchup against the Forest City Owls. Lonzo and I will be there. We'll be hanging out with you guys up in the stands, doing stuff around the stadium, and we want you to be a part of it. So go to our website, espnupstate.com, espnupstate.com, and register for your chance to win a family 4-pack of tickets to Thursday's game when Lonzo and I will be there, Friday's game when Mark Ryan will be there, and every home game for the remainder of the Spartanburgers schedule. Hit them up at espnupstate.com. Quick phone call. We got to get some college football expansion talk, but Dan has been kind enough to hold through the break to talk about Simone Biles' decision with us here on the Rob Brown Show. Dan, thanks for hanging. It's great to have you on the show, bud.
Thank you very much. I was listening to the show, and as I was listening, there was a break, and I listened to a press conference. I was listening to Simone answer questions, and she said herself, no injury. So I hear you talking about a numb wrist and a numb ankle, which doesn't make any sense to me as a health professional. But at the same time, she says no injury. And then I also want to compare and contrast the young lady who injured her ankle in the Olympics 20 years ago and was carried off, unable to walk, and came back and competed in the vault and was successful and won a medal. I'm not sure if she won a gold with a pretty bad ankle.
Yeah, Carrie Strug.
I just want to compare. Yeah, exactly. I just want to make sure, is she injured or not? She says no injury. That's what Simone says, her own words.
Yeah, correct. But what she also said was that she was in a bad headspace, that she has been dealing with anxiety. There's a lot of pressure on her, which, yes, she's got more pressure on her than any other athletes from any country in these Olympics, and that she was in a bad headspace to compete. Her brain, her mind was not in the game at that point. She was not able to perform her best because she mentally was not checked in, and her scores reflect that. She was scoring a full 1.5 less than she scored in qualifying, which was literally hurting her team's overall score. The hurt wrist and numb wrist thing, I was talking about Carrie Strug, who you brought up there a second ago, who told her coach before that legendary vault that we still all talk about, that she couldn't feel her leg. She was hurt. She couldn't feel her leg. She didn't want to do the vault, but her coach effectively pushed her up to do it. And on top of that, they didn't need it. The U.S. already had an insurmountable lead.
Listen, the other thing is, I really don't care that she quit. However, I'm thinking just as the country goes, I think she would have been better off to just try to compete. I mean, I don't think that's an excuse to quit. That's my humble opinion. That's all I have to say, but I don't think she has an injury.
Dan, yeah, appreciate it. She doesn't. She literally said that. I think we played the audio earlier in the show. You may not have heard it. We played the audio in the show where she herself said, no, I'm not injured. It's not an injury. It's not a physical injury. I'm having a mental issue. I got mental. See, here's the thing. But what you said was, and this is what I've heard. Power through it, right? Power through it. Get battle through it. Get back. Here's the thing. She was scoring 1.5 points less in her competition, in her events during the first rotation of the team event. Her scores were checking in at a level that was bringing down the team's overall score. By getting, and by the way, not quitting, she took herself out of one event, the team event. She still got, I think, 5 individual events to compete in for medals. She could still walk out of these Olympics with 5 gold medals.
I believe I saw, and I have to look it up, that she took herself out of that too. But
she took herself out of the individual
events.
events.
Let me confirm.
I was going to say that's and I'm not saying that's new information to me if she did. And again, if she did, I guess this is one spot that I also come down on. Oh, you're right. She did. She sure did. Came through last night. The defending Olympic champion Simone Biles was withdrawn from the final of the Tokyo 2020 individual all-around gymnastics event due to concerns over her mental health. USA Gymnastics announced on Wednesday Biles' withdrawal generated a discussion about mental health and high-performance athletes. Statement from USA Gymnastics. After further medical evaluation, Simone Biles has withdrawn from the final individual all-around competition at the Tokyo Olympic Games in order to focus on her mental health. Simone will continue to be evaluated daily to determine whether or not to participate in next week's individual event finals. Jade Carey, who had the 9th highest score in qualifications, will participate in her place in the all-around. We wholeheartedly support Simone's decision and applaud her bravery in prioritizing her well-being. Her courage shows yet again why she is a role model for so many, end quote. A lot of people, and this is where I think this is where the real debate in this conversation lies, Lonzo. A lot of people do not consider mental issues to be debilitating. They don't consider an athlete saying, I am having anxiety attacks, I am having panic attacks, I am fighting depression. They don't consider that to be a genuine medical issue because we look at people like Kobe and Jordan and these other high-level athletes who go out there and don't let a damn thing stop them. And we go, you should be like that. That's what you should do. Well, not everybody's Kobe. That's why we celebrate Kobe. That's why we celebrate Michael Jordan. That's why we celebrate Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, these cold-blooded killers who get themselves to the top of the mountain in their sport, and the only individual that can beat them is Father Time. That's why we celebrate them, because it's rare. Most people don't have that. I have been very fortunate in that I have not been diagnosed with any mental issues, any mental capacities. And yes, there have been days that I have not felt like doing the show when I do the show. But I also know people who do. One of our P1 listeners to the program here has been clinically diagnosed with depression. We had a conversation about this last night. And he said, if you do not check it when you feel the first waves coming on, you can spiral out of the control to the point that you are worthless. And then once you get to the point that you're worthless, then you get more depressed because you recognize yourself as worthless and it makes you feel more worthless. Texter just wrote in to our last caller, Dan, as someone who suffers from mental health issues, she should power through that is the dumbest thing I've heard. It's dangerous to do what she does when she doubts herself. Yeah, I will say this. Have you ever watched some of the non-television footage of some of the routines that Simone Biles does? Lonzo, she looks like a CGI character out of the Matrix with some of the stuff she does.
It's extremely unreal. The fact that someone's able to do the things that she's able to do. I completely agree. But there's a certain amount of fearlessness that has to go along with that. And so you just believe that she's always fearless.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily true.
Which most people aren't. Most people aren't that fearless in their regular life. But, look, That texter is spot on. To do what Simone Biles does at the level that Simone Biles does it, when you're running across that mat and you realize that you're about to do 2 cartwheels and then 63 flips and 98 rotations in the air, and you have to land on a spot that is as big as your 2 feet and no bigger. And if you go 1 inch backwards, you get penalized. 1 inch forward, you miss your mark and you stumble. 1 inch left or right, you go out of bounds and you're penalized. If your head is not 100% in the game, you're done. And that's only talking about the penalties to the score. We have seen some grotesque injuries in gymnastics. It is crazy dangerous. She comes down without finishing that rotation with the torque that she has doing those 2.5 rotations, Yumchenko's. Told you I'm a gymnastics expert now. She comes down with that level of torque. Her knees blow out and she's done forever. She misses half a rotation and DDTs herself onto the mat. She gets a concussion. She's done, maybe forever. A lot of sports you can get away with maybe not being 100% in the zone and still be pretty good. This is not one of them. She's not one of those athletes. So for her to say, hey, look, my head ain't in the right place, I will not only do damage to my team, but potentially myself if I go through with this. Respect it. And by the way, just to put a little cap on this, and here's the part where I don't know what the response is going to be. Just to be abundantly clear, she doesn't owe you or me or her coach or the United States of America a damn thing. I heard somebody last night, she owes it to us. If she's going to put that flag on her jacket and put the GOAT logo on her warm-ups, she owes it to us. She don't know you, Jack, dude. She don't know me, Jack. She doesn't know anybody, Jack, except the people who helped get her to where she is. And even still, she's an individual who has, as you do, every right to look after her health as she sees fit. End of story. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, you see that, Lonzo? I'm on the clock this time. When we come back here in just a moment.
By the way,
right now,
one time is not a trend to make. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no. When we come back, the comments of the Pac-12 commissioner who was weighed in on expansion talk, and I found it very interesting. Plus, a conversation about NFL players, coaches, and vaccines. I know you're excited. Stick around. It's the Rob Brown Show's back after this on ESPN Upstate. Hey, Miss Lisa. Welcome in. Ba-na-dum, ba-na-dum.
Look, boy. You got this, Roy.
What's the, I wonder what the shoulder pad is for. Like, it doesn't seem to be doing it. Maybe just keep the shoulder. Look how much torque is on that boat. Look at his arm shape. You better make sure you trim your nose hairs before you shoot archery in this. France.
QC Kinetics is the leader in biologic therapies, regenerative solutions that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints with no drugs, no surgery, no downtime.
He is from France.
No, I am serious. What is that shoulder?
I don't know.
Is that holding the arrows?
From QC Kinetics.
No, they're on their hip.
3772. If you have chronic joint pain, don't assume the old treatments are the only treatments.
Come on, Roy.
Learn more about new biologic therapy options now available here.
Hey, let's go. Oh, USA's getting smoked in this one. But he's got a 2-0 lead, so it's 2-1 now.
On that Rock Band game, one of the places we had to play as losers was a realtors conference. And they talked to a realtor. He looked a lot like you without the glasses.
So I was doing trivia last night, and the answers to one of the questions was Will Wheaton. And the picture that came up, let me see if I can find it. I asked the bar, does this look like me? And the bar screamed, yes, loudly.
Hey, you get compared to Will Wheaton. I got Pops throwing, horror film guys at me.
That was from Scary Movie. Yeah.
Which I've never seen. So
I asked the stream, Josh, what's up, buddy? Welcome in, big dog. Does that guy look like me? Or should I say, do I look like that guy?
Well, it depends on your level of arrogance. Your glasses are much cooler than his.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have several different styles, so. Just try to get the exact pose.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking the wrong way.
Yeah, you move your head to the left some more. Some more. There you go. That's it right there. I think the true test is if you switched heads. Could you tell the difference? I don't know. I don't recall seeing you wear a V-neck. I don't know if you're a V-neck type person.
Copy it straight off the screen. All right, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Lonzo has just shared. Julio Jones has just leveled up with me. Julio Jones is on the field for the first time as a Tennessee Titan as they start camp today, rocking Waffle House themed cleats.
They look pretty sweet, don't they?
If somebody makes those into tennis shoes, I'm buying them today. So he's got down the left outside of his left cleat the Waffle House block letters logo in his first appearance as a Tennessee Titan. I'm just saying, leveled up. He left the ATL, was like, I'm gonna show y'all how South I am. I'm gonna show you how dirty South I am. That's incredible. That's incredible. All right. Let me get clip number 8, if you don't mind. Lonzo, this is Pac-12 commissioner, by the way, brand new Pac-12 commissioner. George Kliavkoff is the new commissioner of the Pac-12. And yesterday, Kliavkoff was asked for the first time about the Pac-12 stance on all of the expansion that is happening right now. Here's what Kliavkoff had to say.
If the media reports turn out to be true, we believe the move by Texas and Oklahoma from the Big 12 to the SEC strengthens our unique position as the only Power 5 conference with teams in the Mountain and Pacific time zones. We have a stable, highly successful, and well-positioned membership with a high bar to entry. Given our investments in football and men's basketball and our historic domination of other sports, we do not think expansion is required to continue to compete and thrive. That said, the fallout from Texas and Oklahoma gives us an opportunity to once again consider expansion, and we've already had significant inbound interest from many schools. We will work with our presidents and chancellors to evaluate these opportunities. We expect these decisions to take some time, and we will not be sharing any further information today about ongoing expansion discussions.
Okay. He says, if the media reports turn out to be true, they are. All right? They are. Then the Pac-12 will blah, 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 maybe, is what he said. I want to add to that another story. The Oklahoma State Cowboys president, Casey Shrum, or Shrum, S-H-R-U-M.
Shrum.
Bro. Sent out a series of text tweets yesterday where she went off on the Boomer Sooners. She made the comments in a statement in a series of tweets in which she called Oklahoma's actions, quote, strategic, end quote, and deliberate. She said, quote, I love this. Quote, it is difficult to understand how an Oklahoma institution of higher education would follow and listen to how she wrote this, because in my head, I just hear the sarcasm dripping. It is difficult to understand how an Oklahoma institution of higher education would follow the University of Texas to the detriment of the state of Oklahoma, end quote. Now, she went on to call it a breach. Section 3.2 of the Big 12's bylaws, which references third parties attempting to induce a member institution to leave, requires schools to inform the conference no later than 12 hours afterward and to, quote, immediately and unconditionally reject that offer in a form and manner reasonably acceptable to the commissioner, end quote. Big 12 sources told ESPN Monday that the statement leaves some wiggle room. It does not fully guarantee that the flagship schools would remain in the league through 2025. Of course, as we've mentioned multiple times, the possibility remains they will pay the $75 to $80 million exit fee for leaving early, while also giving the required 18 months notice. Some have speculated this is the first legal maneuver, and the possibility also exists if the Big 12 dissolves before 2025. OU and Texas would no longer be bound to stay through the duration of the contract. Oklahoma and Texas have formally let the SEC know that they want to join the conference. Look, I appreciate the desire to try to keep this above board. I appreciate the desire to try to play into the concept that this is all with the best interest of the student athletes at heart. We talked about this yesterday, and I almost kind of feel like I'm not doing my job, Lonzo.
Student athletes. You can't call them that anymore. They're employees.
No, they're not. They're not getting paid by the schools.
Still employees.
They are student athletes who are also making money other places.
Young entrepreneurs.
I'm good with that. Let them eat. Let them eat. Go get that cheddar, young man, young lady. I appreciate the president of Oklahoma State and her desire to do effectively one thing, which is try to keep the Big 12 in one piece. Because as we said yesterday, Texas and OU gone. There's no one to replace them. The Big 12 is dead and gone. It ain't buried, but it's laying next to the hole. I almost feel like I'm not doing my job because I'm supposed to come up in here and get on this mic every day with hot takes and fresh opinions straight off the Hot Take Express. But here's the thing. Lonzo, there's no fresh hot takes here. There's none available. Texas and Oklahoma make more money in the SEC. The SEC makes more money with Texas and Oklahoma. He who has the gold makes the rules. Therefore, they gone. And that's it. I get that the president of Oklahoma State University wants to try to shame Oklahoma into changing their mind. You are leaving the rest of the institutions in the Big 12 and in the state of Oklahoma at a disadvantage by joining the SEC. And she's right. She's right. Most of the schools in the Big 12 are going to be, as the kids say, SOL when they jump. That's just it. But they don't care. Do you think they didn't know that already? When your boy goes home, if I may make a Mark Ryanism here, if your boy starts dating the smoking hot chick that's cheating on every boyfriend she's ever been with, and you go, hey, Rodney, I don't know why Rodney, but Rodney, she's going to cheat on you with another dude. Rodney's going to go, yeah, I know, but there's benefits I gain now. I don't care about that. Oklahoma right now is going, I don't really care if Oklahoma State can't do it anymore, or if the Big 12 dissolves and isn't a conference. I don't care if Texas Tech and Baylor and Kansas State and Iowa State and Oklahoma State have to go find somewhere else to play or may not be able to play anymore because I got mine. The bag is secured. So now you got the Pac-12 president coming out and saying, well, you know, we don't really want to talk about extension right now. If and when the time comes, we will. Lonzo, how much would you bet right now that the Pac-12 is already definitely talking to at least a couple of Big 12 schools to bring them into the fold?
Of course they are. And I don't blame the Oklahoma State president because, you know, you're going to disparage your rival on their way out. And it's expected. It would be funny if they're the first team to go to the Pac-12.
They might be. I mean, if we're looking at Big 12 programs that are potential moneymakers, right? If we're looking
with who's left, they would have to be near the top.
Yeah. I'd say West Virginia is the top. I'd say Baylor, Oklahoma State are probably a tier down after that. I'd say Iowa State, TCU, Texas Tech are a phase down from that, and everybody else is pulling in after that. Look, man, when it comes down to it, yeah, I expect she's going to try to shame Oklahoma State. Try to shame Oklahoma into not doing this. It's self-preservation. Conversation about unity within the conference doesn't work. And if conversation about unity in the conference doesn't work, the next step is to what? Publicly shame the other guy. Couple of texts that have come in so far. Texter says ESPN, no need to bet on it. The Pac-10 president already said in that clip you played that they were already in talks with schools. So West Virginia and Notre Dame have, two different texts. They're already talking. Yeah, that's. I guess I should have said are going to further talk openly about it. They're already talking with them. Ain't no doubt about that. They're already talking about it. They're going to take the SEC route and just keep it under the bag until it's time. Another texter says, so West Virginia and Notre Dame have a path to join the ACC now. West Virginia, if there's one school I think we can go ahead and circle and say we know where they go after the Big 12 dissolves, it's West Virginia to the ACC.
Yeah, that makes the most sense, but you don't want to add just one school, so you've got to add a second.
True.
And we saw what it was like with Notre Dame in the ACC for football last year, and, I think it added something. So you got to do whatever you can to get them in also.
I agree that you make the call to Notre Dame. You promise them the moon, but Notre Dame ain't coming. You know when Notre Dame will come? When the NBC contract doesn't get renewed. They got NBC money and NCAA money. They aight.
Or when the super conferences take place and there is no more NCAA and they have to go somewhere in order to be relevant.
Sure. We burn that bridge when we get there. We ain't there yet. Now, might the ACC play hardball with Notre Dame? Hey, you're not staying in our basketball conference unless you join a football too. You're not staying in our track and field conference.
If they were going to play hardball, they would have done it by now. Instead, they're giving them all kinds of concessions and allowing them to stay out in football, which is ridiculous.
Well, the ACC gets benefits from having Notre Dame just playing the non-football sports in conference. There's benefits there. There's money on the table from that. Notre Dame doesn't get more money from the ACC than they get from NBC if they ditch that contract and move over. Notre Dame's not going to a conference until there are no more options, and that's years down the road, I think. So we'll see. But West Virginia to the ACC, absolutely. Another texter writes in, quote, thoughts on Clemson and FSU going to the Big Ten, much more lucrative long-term media contract, big name matchups on a weekly basis, home and always to start the season with an SEC school and keeping USC on the back end of the schedule. Tyler from Easily. Talk about that on the backside. Take a break. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. You are you, and you're listening to The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. I gotta move this to the other screen to get it to screen cap.
I'm Christine Lisi, live right now on ESPN TV. Aaron Rodgers speaking to reporters following his first practice of Packers training camp, addressing the organization the draft to be a part of Packers conversations involving free agents. His reps and the team reportedly continue working on finalizing a deal with concessions the team hopes will convince Rodgers to return at least one more season. The 49ers signed quarterback Trey Lance, the third overall pick in the draft, with a 4-year, $34 million fully guaranteed contract. From ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, signed right tackle Braden Smith, 4 years, $72 million extension. NHL, ESPN's Emily Kaplan reporting the Stars are signing highly sought-after defenseman Ryan Suter, 4 years, $1 million.
The Eagles Market Studio ESPN Upstate. 1 FM Spartanburg. ESPN Upstate.
An Odyssey station.
According to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will know that you can try ZipRecruiter for free. But you have to /radio, like where this ad plays. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology will qualify people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I live with my mom. But the most important thing to know is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Again, that excludes ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Yes, radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
So a friend told me about this eraser, and his exact words were, "It changed my life. I used to spend a ridiculous amount of time trying to remove tomato sauce from inside our microwave and soap scum off the bathtub. It's like seriously magic, and my secret weapon for cleaning the kitchen, bathroom, floors and walls, and even keeping my sneakers clean. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. Greatest invention ever."
Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, the unicorn of cleaning. Dave Single from Wendy's made with fresh, never frozen beef has the power to blow your mind. But now that the Dave Single is buy one, get one for $1, as well as the spicy or classic chicken sandwich.
If I look like that much like Will Wheaton, that means I could be on Star Trek, right?
Yeah, you could. Unless, and I have a theory that you actually are Will Wheaton, and in that case, you have already been on Star Trek.
Well, I do not. I am not. I can confirm I am not Will Wheaton, though. That's exactly what somebody not wanting to be found out as Will Wheaton would say.
It's also exactly what a robot made to look like Will Wheaton would say.
What makes AutoZone America's #1 battery destination? Because they offer free battery testing and charging and reliable replacement batteries starting at just $79.99. And they've always got your battery solution. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Goodyear believes in the power of moving forward, no matter if it's on the track, the court, or the field.
A Prisma in the next break.
It pushes us to go further, to show
Okay.
the world what we can do. Movement is the unique ability to change our perspective.
In Black Widow, it's clear from the very beginning that all the events happen in a fictional, unrealistic universe because nobody has ever said, "I want to stay in Ohio" in real life.
It's kind of messed up.
I only read it for you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have no comebacks for that, though. I hear Amish country in Ohio is quite nice. Never made it there.
You guys are lighting up the text line here on ESPN Upstate, the Ingles Market text line, 71307. Texter says, thoughts on Clemson and FSU going to the Big Ten, much more lucrative long-term media contract, big name matchups on a weekly basis, home and away to start the season with an SEC school and keeping USC on the back end of the schedule. That's from Tyler and Easley. Yeah, I've heard that. I've also heard the SEC thinking about poaching Clemson and Florida State from the ACC as well, which would be another spot where if Clemson and Florida State leave the ACC, I think the ACC is probably in a little bit better shape than the Big 12 without Texas and Oklahoma, Lonzo, but not by a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
I think if Clemson leaves the ACC, they're in trouble.
Uh,
But why would they want to? I know it comes down to money, but why would Clemson want to leave when they have a clear pathway into the playoffs every year? They are king where they are. You were at ACC Media Days this year. You got to experience the Elvis that is Dabo when he walks in the room. That's how Clemson
Wasn't
is.
as bad as everybody made it out to be. I mean, he was definitely the most followed coach, but like I thought it was going to turn into like a ZZ Top concert when he walked in.
Well, I saw it pre-COVID. You saw it post.
Oh, it's also true.
So
it's also true.
There's still some deals with that, but at the same time, more than any other coach when he walked in, I'm sure that he had the crowd kind of got a little riled up.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Clemson. Why would Clemson want to leave the ACC? How much money?
There's the right question.
How much money would they have to offer Clemson for them to entertain the idea of leaving the ACC? By the way, as a Big Ten fan, I'm good with Clemson coming to the Big Ten. I think it would be awesome.
And Clemson and FSU moving over will be enormous for the Big Ten. Really? I mean, you want FSU to get back before.
I was going to say FSU, Maryland, it's kind of.
I mean, yeah, they got to get back first.
Yeah, they do. I mean, at least they have a history of having been there at some point.
For the record, still a profitable football team.
Oh, without a doubt.
Still a team that's putting money in, not taking out.
And a team that you know who they are.
Yeah.
So you got merchandising and all that kind of stuff. But Clemson, I get. And I'm still going geographical. I can't get past the geography of this.
I can tell.
Clemson makes sense, but Florida State does not because of where it's located.
Clemson ain't but a couple hundred miles north of FSU. Clemson's is as eastern seaboard as Tallahassee is.
Still closer to Big Ten country than Florida is.
Yeah. I think the necessity for geographic involvement is pretty much dead at this point. For the two reasons we talked about yesterday. Number one, travel is infinitely cheaper than it used to be and more easy than it used to be. And number two.
Back in my day, you used to play in your region and you were happy about it.
We used to have to travel 2 hours and that was unacceptable. Now you kids with your flying cars and giant motor coaches.
You can't get there on a bus. Why you need to go?
I'd like to point out that your voice is getting less and less fictional by the moment, though.
Yeah, because here's the problem. Once you went into old man voice, which sounds similar to mine, I had to change mine so people wouldn't wonder who said it.
Gotcha. Okay. So you just started talking like you.
Yeah, well, no, it was exaggerated. I could get away with old man voice.
Yeah, correct. You could.
Oh, that was your point.
Yeah. Stumbled into it. Texter says ESPN, so West Virginia and Notre Dame do have a path to the ACC now. Yeah, West Virginia, absolutely. WVU is an ACC team built if Clemson, Florida State stick around. Clemson and FSU leave, I would bet you West Virginia goes with them. See, here's the thing. We're talking super conferences, right? Southeastern Conference going to 16. If you are the ACC, you bring in West Virginia, there's 15. Who do you add to the mix to get to 16?
I would say if you're a casual football fan in the North, you already think West Virginia is in the ACC.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. If you didn't do that, you're not an American. All right. So West Virginia, yes. They'll make a push. Look, for those of you who are hitting it, Penn State's not moving over out of the Big Ten. None of the Big Ten teams are moving. I don't think. Michigan and Ohio State are not going anywhere. They're set. So the rest of the Big Ten is safe.
Maybe Maryland, maybe Rutgers, maybe, some of the lower tier teams. But why would anybody want them?
Yeah. Well, not even that. Where's the more profitable? Where is the profitable jump?
They came to the Big Ten for a reason, and it was money. It wasn't because they thought they were going to win.
Yeah. Where's the landing spot that puts more money in the coffers for Rutgers if they leave the Big Ten? It ain't the ACC, right? It ain't the ACC. So they're fine. I would be willing to guess that if you had a spot where teams were going to depart from, they'll depart the ACC before they depart the Big Ten. You would be more likely to see ACC schools go into the Big Ten than the other way around, I think, unless FSU and Miami get back to where they used to be, in which case the ACC maybe jumps the Big Ten, but it's close. All of that being said, Notre Dame ain't going nowhere till that NBC, unless NBC says we're not renewing your contract. Notre Dame's got no reason to leave. Notre Dame in the NBC deal is making the amount of money that these schools are pulling from conferences, with the exception now of the SEC. So if the SEC was to invite Notre Dame, that's maybe the only time they drop conference affiliation, unless the ACC can offer more, but I doubt they can. Texture says ESPN Cincinnati and UCF to the ACC. UCF would be tough given the other Florida schools in the ACC. Yeah, I don't know that FSU is in Miami, frankly, are going to go for USF or UCF being invited. I think you got a better chance with West Virginia. Now, there are some schools I'm interested to see where they end up. Boise State, Houston, schools like that. Could they be in? Could we see the military academies end up joining a conference? Because they got to go somewhere to make their money in order to compete as well. Ryan McGee had a great point in his article. Ryan McGee from Marty McGee, which is one of my favorite shows, said in the middle of his article, we get paid to come on here and tell you things and then tell you why we're right about those things. McGee put in his article, there are a lot of us, and I include myself in this. I include Lonzo in this. I include Mark Ryan in this. I include Diesel in this. There are a lot of us that have been doing this for many moons, many years. And if anybody tells you they know what college's football is going to look like 3 years from now, they're lying to you. They are lying to you. None of us do. Even the bigwigs at ESPN are going on TV right now and going, we don't know what it's going to look like. Give you some more sound from Heather Dinich when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
You think it over. Prisma Health, the official healthcare provider of the Tigers and the Gamecocks, and they want to be the official healthcare provider for you and your family as well. Look, these universities, healthcare of their athletes is their number one priority, the safety and well-being of their athletes, and they want to ensure that their athletes get the best, quickest medical care with the most up-to-date technology available. And they both agree that Prisma Health is the way to make that happen. And Prisma Health makes it easy for you. They got locations around the upstate and the Midlands. Over 2,400 doctors within their medical network. So you can find the one that's right for you. Their My Chart feature keeps all of your medical health care right there. Convenient, streamlined at your fingertips, but also confidential and secure to help you stay on top of your healthcare needs and make the best possible decisions for you and your family. And you can even get the virtual visit. If you got so much going on right now that it's just hard to make it to a doctor's appointment, go use a virtual visit. You can meet your doctor face-to-face right over your computer screen to make sure that you don't miss a thing. It's very simple. Go to their website, prismahealth.org, prismahealth.org. You can get signed up there, find the right doctor, find the facility, and make sure that your healthcare needs are being met the best way possible. Go to prismahealth.org to learn more. It's our friends at Prisma Health right here in the upstate. Right here in the upstate. I pushed the button on accident.
So you turned your mic off, man. So that meant for me to push my button. So So I've been considering, standing at the door and scaring Rob as he comes in. But since he doesn't like jump scares, I'm afraid his reaction might be either to swing or to pass out. So I'm not going to do it. At least not yet. Maybe after a year, I'll do it. Because pranking is a part of radio. You know, Steven, I don't give in to peer pressure. At least not if only one person's telling me to do it. Now, if multiple people, then I might consider it. Obviously, I'm considering it, or I wouldn't have mentioned it. Admittedly, I used to scare Mark Ryan all the time. So, I mean, you know, but that's kind of easy. And if you're going to start a prank war, it's not always a good idea to do it with someone who you share an office with, because you don't know what's going to end up in your chair, under your desk, things like that. So it's about whether you're willing to start it. And these things tend to escalate. Still not saying I'm not going to do it. You just got to be prepared for what happens afterwards.
I had to think. Don't judge me, Steven. I hydrate properly.
By the way, don't tell Rob what we were talking about.
Cool.
You know, I'm guessing that's how Giannis would say that. That is polite, right?
Giannis. Can you turn on the sound of this computer in the monitor?
I love this team. I love your fans, and the opportunity to play on Lambeau Field has been.
All right, we're coming back.
The Rob Brown Show rolling on. It's ESPN Upstate. Rob Lonzo, you 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Grab me clip. Nah, we're going to have to save it. No, we can fit it in. Give me clip 9 if you don't mind. Lonzo, Heather Dinich, and Paul Feinbaum weighing in on the expansion talk from the last couple of days. Here's what those two had to say.
Feels like this is just the beginning of what is going to be a power grab. How would you expect this to go from here, you say?
Well, the question then becomes, does the Big 12
You have
dissolve
no concept
as many
of time.
things
Fit,
will?
right?
In the conference, they obviously keep it going, and who
No,
they
is it
grab. I
gonna
can
go
tell
on?
you last week,
Well,
they
you have
talked on
like
a
10
shallow
seconds.
surface of what do we do if
Okay.
it's leave? And now
All right.
Cincinnati, Houston, BYU. They're all great programs, but none that obviously bring the value of Oklahoma.
I
and
shake
Texas
my
and those
head
brand names,
because
right?
you're on host
so you've
time.
already got schools like
Host time is not
Virginia
necessarily
saying,
time
hey,
time.
when we get to the ACC,
Okay.
It depends on if that's reciprocated.
It's the
Probably
one
not.
it's the
But
one mark I'd ever
absolutely,
miss
this
is
is
the
going to be a
out to the top,
snowball
yeah.
effect, Greeny. Not
It's the only
even
one I'd ever
5 years
miss.
from now, 10 years from now. I've heard
It's the only
all
one
kinds
I've
of
most of the
speculation,
time ever
including
missed.
the possibility of one day down the road of a 32-team NFL light type conference. So nothing would surprise me down the road. This is only the tip of the iceberg.
Wow. Paul, your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, Heather's right. And if you're a middle of the roader in college football, you're in deep, deep trouble. This is all about the best. And Greeny, why not? How many times have we had conversations about, trying to prop up schools when they really don't belong? And this is all going contemporaneous to the new 12-team CFP. So it's perfect timing. Guess who's in the middle of both of them? Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC. And quite frankly, most of college football is going to be looking at the SEC's backside right now. I don't see a deal out there. Notre Dame's the only chip on the board that can even move the needle, and Notre Dame has already expressed its disinterest in joining a conference. Nobody else matters right now, Greeny.
So there you go. We'll address that when we come back. Dinich and Feinbaum. And he's right, which I don't say about Paul Feinbaum very often. We'll address that when we come back on the Rob Brown Show at ESPN Upstate.
That wasn't about Paul. That's what you wanted to do.
Your boy knows what he's doing. He doesn't always do it, but he knows it.
Or maybe I knew that you knew, and I was putting pressure on you so you would understand that we had less time when we come back. You have a golf card in the first break.
Alrighty.
Blue Jays. Well, Stephen, it used to be on the old vehicle, and someone brought it in here. That's about it. That's the whole story behind it.
Is that a spare? I thought that was a table cover.
No.
It goes on top of a round
No,
table.
it was, the tires are on the back of a vehicle.
Yeah.
It was on that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on that. That's what it is.
Well, it's got the wrong frequencies on it, so.
Well, there's that too. That tells you how old it is.
Yeah.
Which is why they had to take it off of there.
Texter says, if we move to a 12-team playoff and it's ever 8 SEC teams in the CFP, I'll quit watching college football. Dear Texter, I suspect you're going to regret that text sometime in the next 3 to 6 years.
You know how many times I've heard, well, if this person does this, I'm moving to another country, or I'm going to Canada, or I will never watch this again. I'm not saying that you won't stick to it, but
I'm just saying nobody else ever has.
Well, there might be one or two in the midst of all those things that actually did it, but I don't know who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you won't. First off, no, you won't. With all due respect, no, you won't. Second off, when it comes down to it, that's the reality we're heading to, ladies and gentlemen. That's the reality we're heading to. You heard Heather Dinich just a second ago. In fact, you know what? I don't do this very often, Zoe, but let's run that back. Because Heather said something in the middle there that I said on Monday, and I really want it to sink in. I really want it to sink in. Listen to the middle part of what Heather Dinich says, specifically while the music is playing annoyingly over her. Listen to what Heather said right there in the middle of her take.
Feels like this is just the beginning of what is going to be a power grab. How would you expect this to go from here, you see?
Well, the question then becomes, does the Big 12 dissolve as many think it will? In the conference, they obviously keep it going, and who they grab. I can tell you last week, they talked on a shallow surface of what do we do if this leave? And now it's Cincinnati, Houston, BYU. They're all great programs, but none that obviously bring the value of Oklahoma and Texas and those brand names, right? So you've already got schools like West Virginia saying, hey, can we get to the ACC? It depends on if that's reciprocated. Probably not. But absolutely, this is going to be a snowball effect, Greeny. Not even 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I've heard all kinds of speculation, including the possibility one day down the road of a 32-team NFL light type conference. So nothing would surprise me down the road. This is only the tip of the iceberg.
Wow. Paul, your reaction?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, that's fine. That's all I needed. That's all I needed was that middle part right there when Heather Dinich says that there are folks, and so we're clear, Lonzo, I am one of them, that thinks we are heading to 3, maybe 4, 16 or 18 or 24 or 32 team super conferences that will all be split up into divisions. And that's the direction the playoffs are going right now. Honestly, I don't see how we end up anywhere else at this point.
It's not a bad format. Works well for the NFL. And if that does happen, bowls will be gone, right? The other bowls, what would the point be for having other bowls?
They don't have a point now.
Well, I know.
So, I mean, the bowls won't have a point. That is, you guys have been listening to the show. The bowls won't have a point isn't an argument I entertain. You can have it. I'll listen.
Well, the point now for the bowls are for the kids to get extra playing time, extra practice time, and to get swag.
Yeah. Which, cool.
If you're one of the players, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a player who's still got PT left, then yeah, this is a great moment. If you're one of the folks who has PT left on the has eligibility left, yeah, it's great. You get some extra practice time. If you're a coach, cool. You get to run your team through some extra practices for the young guys to get some more reps. But outside of that, the bowls already don't mean anything. So expanding conferences, it's going to impact the bowls. Nick Saban said that a bunch. Nick Saban's also 69 years old, 70 years old at this point. Like it's yes, some of y'all.
That's ageism.
Not really. I didn't say it was bad. Older folks have an attachment to the bowls that the next generation just doesn't have. Older folks care about the bowls because they used to mean something to them, but they do not anymore. So that's not something that's going to stop the march of progress. And I heard somebody say the other day something to the tune of, well, college football doesn't want to be the NFL. I need you to listen to me when I say this. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. See, because the NFL takes every punch thrown at it and continues to profit more and more.
And NIL just takes it one step closer to being the NFL.
Yes and no. Players are getting their money, which a lot of folks aren't super thrilled about. I get it.
It's like being in an entry-level job and you're seeing what it's like to be management. And if you do well enough in your entry-level job in college, then you get to management in the NFL.
Correct.
Although I would like the entry-level money that some of these college players are getting already.
Oh, yeah. Alabama starting quarterback's going to be getting $1 million a year. Yeah, I would like that. Very much.
not only would I like that, I'll stay at entry level.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. So, college football is going to parallel the NFL. Just like every business looks at the other businesses in their businessing that has been successful and emulates the model. That's just how the game gets played. They emulate the model to replicate the success. College football is not about the athletes, and it's not about the fans. And it cracks me up that there are still folks out there, with all due respect if it's you, that thinks that your college football program gives a good gosh darn about you. They don't. You know what they care about? Your money. And if ESPN and ABC and NBC and CBS and whoever else are willing to throw 7 and 8 figure paychecks at them to do a thing, and you as a fan says, well, you're not getting my $70 a year anymore, I have heartbreaking news for you. It doesn't matter. And if you sense a bit of frustration in my voice, you're correct. There is. And it's not even frustration at the expansion, at the direction that college football is heading in. Because to be honest with you, I've been mentally prepared for this moment for years. The frustration is that it seems like every day I get somebody who's hitting me with, well, Rob, they're screwing over the fans. And I don't like it. Or, well, I don't know what to tell you anymore. What do you want me to say to you? Because I'm not spending my money. Lonzo, in your most extravagant year, ballpark how much you've spent on your favorite college football team in a single season. It's ballpark it. $100, $1,000.
I hate how this is going to sound. I've never had to pay for a ticket.
All right, let's pretend like you have. Because, no, it's fair. Perks of this. No, I'm with you. Perks of this job include we get to go to a lot of cool sporting events for free.
Not only that, but my wife has friends who like have box seats in places and things like that. So I shouldn't feel bad about it, but I just can't answer the question the way you want me to because I've never had to buy.
Oh, I don't feel bad about it at all. I met Tom Brady for free. I don't feel bad about it at all. That comes with it.
I'd feel bad if I met Tom Brady. I'd be ill.
The hours of work we do off the air that are unseen, yeah, we get football tickets. Cool. But let's pretend for the sake of the discussion, Lonzo, that if you paid for all of those tickets as they would have been market price for the box seats, how much would you estimate would be the most expensive year of Lonzo, the college football fan?
Somewhere in the thousands, probably.
Say $3,000.
Sure.
Say $3,000.
Let's go with that. On a good, there was a couple good years where it went quite a bit.
Sure.
Yes.
Let's say $3,000. And that's including tickets and merch and food and parking on campus. Hell, let's say $10,000.
I was going to say certain perks come with food. So
Sure.
didn't really have to buy that either.
Let's include all of that. Let's say $10,000. Lonzo spends $10,000 a year on the Ohio State University. I know in my most expensive year, in years where my free media passes would have been tickets, probably $6,000. Let's call it 10. Let's say between Lonzo and I, we both give $10,000 to our favorite university of choice. And then let's say there's 1,000 me and Lonzo's. You're talking, let's say, $10 million a year in Rob and Lonzo's. I don't know if that's right. I'm bad at math.
Yeah, it's not, but we'll go with it.
10,000 me and Lonzo's.
That's better.
I suck at math. What do you want? That's why all my careers are based on words. Say there's $1 million in Lonzo and $1 million in me. You understand you were still a fraction of the amount of money that's thrown around at the top level? If there is the most money in a situation where the Southeastern Conference has 16 people in it, 16 teams in it, and 7 or 8 of them go to the playoffs, if that's where the most money is, it's what's going to happen. Right now, that's exactly what it is. We have seen in the past. Do you want to know? We've talked about this. You want to know why UCF and Coastal Carolina didn't get a shot in the playoffs? They're going to package it as, well, the 1 and 2 loss teams that went ahead of them played tougher competition, and we decided that sure, that's the justification. But the reason they didn't get a shot is because they wouldn't have brought the money into the playoffs that the schools that replaced them did. That's it. So the texter that said, if we move to a 12-team playoff and it's ever 8 SEC teams in the CFP, I'll quit watching football. I want you to know, I'm going to remember that text. And in 4 or 5 years from now, when we have 3 or 4 24-team mega conferences, and the SEC sends 8 to the expanded playoffs, because I'll bet you it goes to 16 now too. When they send 8 and half the playoff field or more is SEC teams, I'm going to remember back to July 28, 2021 and ask that texter, are you still out? And I need you to know, and here's the part that's going to hurt people. If you and 100,000 other people all bail out, it's not going to stop it. It's not going to stop it. The machine is in motion. Good luck slowing it down, because there are hundreds of millions of dollars being thrown around by the decision makers, and the fans ain't them. Now, maybe there's some schools that have a T. Boone Pickens, like Oklahoma State, who gives $100 million a year to his university and has statues and buildings named after him. And maybe a guy like a T. Boone Pickens has a little bit of weight to sway Oklahoma State's decision to join the ACC or the Big Ten or the Pac-12. Try to predict the correct landing spot for survival. But T-Bone Pickens is so influential as a booster that we know his name. What's the Nike dude's name? Knight? I forgot his first name. Wayne Knight, I think. Moon Knight. M. Knight. Shyamalan.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Phil Knight. Phil Knight. I did it. Phil Knight's the kind of booster that's got the ability to go to Oregon and say, here's what I want to happen. And maybe he's got some sway over the decision, because he'll pull all that sweet, sweet Nike money out if they don't do it. But we kind of know his name. I mean, y'all probably did. Y'all were probably going, what an idiot. But we know his name. Name me another Oregon fan. Like just one. I got one back home, buddy named Chris. That's it. That's the extent of it. We don't matter. And we won't matter unless we all stop while watching college football. Lonzo, as upset as you are about the NIL, are you going to stop watching college football?
No.
No. As upset as you, the listeners, might be about college football expansion taking meaning away from the conferences and all that, are you going to stop watching college football? No, you're not. And say you will, but you're not. We never have. It is what it is. Chris texted in. Oh, Chris is a text from earlier. He said, deal. Mark it down. July 28, 2021. Chris and Chesney. Chris, thanks for texting, man. Great to meet you on the text line. Appreciate that. I'll be shocked, man. As Lonzo pointed out, I've been doing this job 14 and a half years. Football season will make 15 years I've been in radio. I can't tell you the number of if blank, then I stop watching calls and texts I've gotten over the years. And almost without fail, I will get another text or comment about that sport from somebody in the future. The NFL. Oh, these guys are kneeling. I'm done watching the NFL. No, you're not. There's a few people that are. But for the vast majority of you, you might get up. All these guys are kneeling for the anthem. I'm not watching anymore. Well, TV numbers don't show that. It's been a tiny decline from the highest numbers of all time. Oh, the basketball players are wearing shirts that say BLM. I'm not watching that. You did. The NBA Finals were down significantly this year. I'll give you that. They were down last year too, but that was the pandemic. This year was a rebound. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But I also think the fact that we had two teams that are not made up of the traditional superstars of the NFL, of the NBA didn't help. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong.
I will disagree with you on this. I believe the expansions and the money and all that kind of stuff will not be a deterrent, but the politics will. I think politics has a better shot of dethroning college football than all this other stuff does. All this other stuff, it's just basically realignment to some degree. And realignment can be a lot of fun because then you develop new rivalries. You get to see teams you didn't normally get to see before play. So I think if there ever was an end to it, it would be more politics than it ever would be this kind of stuff. This kind of stuff is just, it's whether I like it or not, it's just inevitable.
Yeah, I agree. All right, 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text is 71307. When we come back, we haven't had the discussion yet, but we will now. The new vaccination policy in the NFL. We've had some big names start to say that they might consider retiring because of it. I'll give you my thoughts when we come back on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
Golf cart.
'21 Upstate Golf Cart is on sale now. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. 9 beautiful, prestigious Upstate courses, $99. All you got to do is go to upstategolfcard.com, upstategolfcard.com. Once you're there, you can take a look at all the details, all the beautiful courses. I have already knocked 3 off my card. I got 6 to go, and it is already paid for itself at this point. Plus, you can buy a couple of them. Supplies are limited. They'll sell out quick, so get them while you can. Buy a couple, take your friends golfing. Tell me that they're not going to love you when you go, hey, buddy, Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m., round of golf, and hey, it's on me. Hashtag level up friendship, man. They're going to love you for it. It's just that simple. Go to upstategolfcard.com, upstategolfcard.com. Grab yours now. Grab one for your friends. Grab one for your fam. Take them golfing. What better way to spend the summertime of the Upstate than on the course? It's the 2021 Upstate Golf Card.
Courtesy the Nationals Radio Network, 6-4 the final over the Phillies on Tuesday night. National shortstop Trey Turner left the game in the first after testing positive for COVID-19. The Marlins with a 7-3 win over the Orioles in Baltimore. The Yankees beat the Rays 4-3. The Red Sox and Blue Jays postponed at Fenway. Download the free Score app. Lightning fast updates so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. That's your Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders on ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate welcomes the Carolina Panthers to Wofford College for Training Camp 2021. It all starts this Saturday in Spartanburg. Join ESPN Upstate for our special Panthers preview show from 4 to 6 p.m. Saturday, live from
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. As soon as I get off the air, just run over there and watch it. I can probably pull a full interview tomorrow if you miss it.
I'm assuming that we have that channel in there.
Yeah, we do.
Since we have cable now and I haven't used it, it wasn't about using it. It's just because I wanted it. Definitely be using it during football season, though.
If you have chronic joint pain, don't assume the old treatments are the only treatments. Learn more about new biologic therapy options now available here. Restorative, regenerative treatments for joint pain. Finally, call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. Get your life back without pain. 864-448-3772. More meaty Spartanburgers fun this
Bob Odenkirk. Did you see that? He just fell out while filming a TV scene.
Yeah, it's also on. You just killed one of my Twitter. Still going to use it because I don't have a whole lot. So I don't know why that's trending. Marshawn Lynch, former NFL running back Marshawn Lynch, cursed on air during an ESPN appearance. Wow, there's a shocker. Didn't see that one coming. All right, Diddy, you got me confused. So text me back with what do you know something I don't know? And now you're telling me, and now I'm going to, okay. Oh, the intrigue. 1 minute. Paul Feinbaum tweeting out some Cars music.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. A couple of days ago, after learning that the NFL had decided upon a policy that could force NFL teams to forfeit and also withhold pay from NFL players if any game for the upcoming season is canceled due to a COVID-19 outbreak amongst unvaccinated personnel, Arizona Cardinals all-pro wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins said on Twitter that he was considering the possibility of retirement. Said that he might walk away from the game. He felt that the protocols were just too much, just unfair to the players, and he might rather walk away than be quote unquote forced into something. Of course, the Clemson standout from 2010 to 2012 under Dabo Swinney, a product of Central South Carolina, the city of Central, not like centrally in South Carolina, although I'm sure it is in Central South Carolina.
What, you sure? Are you sure? Are you asking if Central is Central in South Carolina?
Yes.
I've never really thought about that. I do know that Central is in.
You
in
have
South
never
Carolina.
heard Central South Carolina
Yes.
and wondered if it was in Central South Carolina?
No, and maybe I don't want to say assumed, but I guess I just assumed that it was. It just,
Central South Carolina is apparently not too far from here and in the very northwest corner of South Carolina. Although Northwest South Carolina does not make as good of a city name as Central does, for the record.
I'm sure there's some other reason why it's named Central,
I'm sure.
but you're right.
Still funny to me. Anyway.
Just like there's a Prosperity, South Carolina. I've never been there before because I'm not sure I belong.
Not on that radio paycheck. DeAndre Hopkins said that he would consider bailing out on the season and maybe the NFL as a whole if the vaccination protocols, as stated, were going to stay in person. He tweeted out that he was, quote, questioning his future, end quote, in the NFL after the league announced any team with a COVID outbreak due to unvaccinated players could result in a forfeit and unvaccinated players could be fined a paycheck if it is traced back to them. He also texted out a tweet that said, freedom, question mark. He also texted out, they love you 1 minute and then hate you the next. Know thyself. Well, since then, DeAndre has deleted all those tweets and now said, BTW, I got about 9 more years in me. Y'all have a good day. And that was it. That was it. Now, I was talking with one of our P1s yesterday who said that he, a person who is not on board with mandatory vaccinations, which, again, I am not either, so that we're clear. You guys have heard me say from the beginning, it is absolutely your choice to get the vaccination. It is also absolutely your choice to accept the consequences of not taking the vaccination. Of course it is. It's your call. And DeAndre has a decision to make, as does Cole Beasley and every other NFL player who says they don't want it. Great. But you will also have some other hard decisions that come with that, should that be the decision you make. Let me get clip number 2A. Ron Rivera, former Carolina Panthers quarterback, now with the Washington football team. Ron Rivera was asked about his stance. Remember, Ron Rivera, who spent last year fighting cancer. He, because of his chemo and his cancer treatment, is immunodeficient. He can't get the vaccine, but he can get COVID. Here's what Ron Rivera had to say about his team not being close to the vaccination threshold yet.
I'm truly frustrated. I'm beyond frustrated, and part of it is, and the reason I walked in with the mask on is, I'm immune deficient. Okay, so with this new variant, who knows? So when I'm in a group and the group's not vaccinated or there's mixture, I put the mask on. And I do that, for health reasons, because nobody really knows. And so I have to do that. And I just wish and I hope that our guys can understand that. I think it's frustrating, especially in the fact that last year we were the number 1 team against COVID. Our players took the challenge of staying, inside the bubble, doing the things the right way. And for the most part, we only had 2 situations. Both of them were guys that were not on the active 53. So it turned out to be a positive for us as far as being COVID free. And now, for whatever reason, we have some reluctance to do that, to get the vaccine. And these young men have to make the decisions for themselves. But I think hopefully they can understand just how impactful not getting the vaccine is. And you'd like to believe, with all the news that's been out there in terms of the fact that people that are being hospitalized, that are dying from COVID right now, are those that aren't vaccinated. Well, where it becomes a really disadvantage, I think, will come in terms of preparation. If you got a guy that's going to miss out on 2 weeks of work, I think when you get into the regular season and you wake up Saturday morning and they come in and tell you that you've got 5 guys that can't play on Sunday, and it's your starting group, that's going to shake your team up. We saw what happened, unfortunately, to Denver last year. They had to start a wide receiver at quarterback. You don't want to be in that situation. We don't want to be in that situation. So it could be a huge, huge disadvantage.
That's Ron Rivera making the point that it would be an enormous disadvantage. And he brought up the exact example I was going to make, the Denver Broncos. Last year, Denver Broncos had their entire QB room go down. The entire QB room went down. They had to start a not just backup wide receiver, but a backup wide receiver who hadn't played quarterback since like high school and had to be brought back onto the team to play quarterback. As you can imagine, that game did not go well for the Denver Broncos. Again, said it before, said it again. The NFL has the right to put those protocols into place to protect its players and coaches. It is not mandating the vaccination, though they absolutely could if they wanted to. This is not a government entity. Before anybody says, "Oh, I'm against vaccinations being mandatory," it's a place of work. It's a private business. They can do that if they wish. That's been established time and time again.
But they put out a double standard because players are not required to be vaccinated, but other personnel are. Sure. So what they're saying is, you guys have the freedom right now. These guys don't. If they want to work here, they have to do it. You guys, we're not putting that pressure on you, but still we are, because we want the team to be up to this amount of percentage, and you're going to get fined a game check. I mean, go one way or another. If you're going to require it, required of everybody, not just a certain group. It's just not right.
This seems like it could be bad.
Yeah, it does. It's not like it's definitely not looking good. Oh, they're writing it. They're writing the ship.
We're literally writing. We're watching. What is this? Rowing.
Yeah, it's rowing.
And one of the teams just went all the way through their lane, about 30 degrees and about 20 inches from slamming into another boat.
You know when you hit the rumble strip on the highway?
Yeah, that was the boating version of that.
Yeah, they just did that. That's what those buoys are. You know, boom, 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 boom.
So, yes, you are correct. Tier 1 personnel that are in contact with players have to be vaccinated in order to remain there. In fact, we have had not one now, but 2 coaches that have been removed from their position because of their refusal to get the vaccination to not be able to be Tier 1. Rick Dennison, Minnesota Vikings assistant coach, has taken a position as a senior offensive advisor after declining to receive vaccination. Dennison had been the club's offensive line coach and run game coordinator for the last 2 years. He is no longer in that position. He is now an administrator because he does not have to have contact with the players to be in that position. The New England Patriots co-offensive line coach Cole Popovich is no longer on the Patriots coaching staff for the same reason. He had remained masked up during the spring sessions but did not get the vaccination. He was not able to be a Tier 1 person, so now he is out in that spot as well. Again, it was their decision, knowing that it would cost them their job, and heck, a part of me even respects they're sticking to their guns, though it cost them their livelihood, at least in this particular role.
Here's another problem with this. All right. People who are vaccinated are still getting COVID. Correct. So let's say you're a player and you're following the protocol, you do everything, you get vaccinated, and you still catch it. How is that fair that you lose a game check?
No, that's not. You will not lose a game check for getting COVID. You will not miss a game check for missing games due to COVID. You will get a game check if your team has to forfeit because there are not enough players to field a team and it is traced back to unvaccinated players. If you are below that 85% threshold and there is a breakout that forces you to forfeit, as the Denver Broncos from last year likely would be forced to do, then you lose a game check. But if you're vaccinated, there's no losing a game check if you're vaccinated.
None of this makes sense. It just doesn't. I mean, do all or nothing. Because there are so many loopholes in this thing. It's got to be confusing if you are a player. Definitely got to be confusing if you are a Tier 1 person going, okay, how come they don't have to do this? And you're saying, I have to do this. In the end, you're right. It is a business. And they can say, hey, this is a requirement. You have to do this. And yes, they can treat certain people in the business differently than others. Happens in every business. It's not right.
You can feel that way.
So you give me permission to feel.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
As the host of the show. You have permission to feel that way. I meant it is not an untenable position to hold. How's that? It's a logical position to hold. That being said,
Rob Brown just went haughty intellectual by
yes, he
using
did.
a multi-syllable word that he doesn't think I understand what it means.
No, if I didn't think you'd understand it, I would have dumbed it down. But you know me, the haughty intellectual, I don't do that. Welcome back, Admiral Akbar. Never got over the fact that their race of people was the calamari. Anyway.
They certainly rise to leadership positions, though, don't they? They don't last there long. But,
True.
You know.
They keep falling into traps. So Cole Beasley, DeAndre Hopkins, you get a choice. You're right. And some people don't get treated the same as others. Do producers have the same freedoms around radio stations that hosts do?
Absolutely not.
Of course not. Of course not. And guess what? I don't have the same rights and freedoms that our boss down the hall does. Do I? No. That's how businesses work. Bartenders have more flexibility than busboys in their job. Hosts have more than producers, but not as much as managers in their job. Every business is like that. So the players get to decide, do you want to take that risk? DeAndre Hopkins said, oh, I might step out, till he realized the NFL ain't playing. They ain't joking. And then he went, oh, my bad. I'm out. The two coaches, they stuck to their guns. They would rather lose their position on that coaching staff than get the vaccine.
I think it comes down to your convictions. If your convictions are that and you stick to them, great. But if you backtrack, then maybe you didn't think it out too well before you said what you said.
Oh, I agree with that. 844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. By the way, for those of you that have told me, I hope some of the players hold out and it causes a revolution, they won't, and it won't. Your biggest chance was DeAndre, and he has already backed off of that. Said, I still got 9 years in me. You ain't getting your holdout, and the revolution of players isn't coming.
Unless he was reassured, hey, man, it doesn't apply to you. It doesn't apply to star players. It's only, it's only those fringe guys, those guys that are practice squads guys, those guys that are barely on a team or they're really old and they're on their way out. It only applies to those guys. You're like one of the best receivers in the NFL. It doesn't apply to you.
Do you believe that's the case? Because I don't.
I believe it's a possibility, absolutely. Because we just talked about different people getting treated different ways.
There is one way that players can draw the wrath of the NFL. You know what it is? Cost them money. And if games are forfeited and not placed on television, the NFL will lose money. And that is the one thing they will not tolerate from players. Murder somebody? Yeah. Beat your wife in an elevator? We'll figure it out. Do a bunch of drugs that are illegal? Cool, man. We'll work it out down the road. Cost us money? Sit your ass at the house. That's the NFL's policy. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. I legit thought that boat was going to slam.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, oh, come on, make it. It's the Olympics. Do it.
What's that say about us that we wanted to see the collision? Because I was curious what would happen.
Did you ever see that movie? It was an Eddie Murphy movie where he was like a philosopher. I don't remember the movie.
I mean, The Golden Child?
No. It was
I think I stopped with Eddie Murphy somewhere around Nutty Professor.
It's a what's the name of the movie? Anyway, it's I think it's Eddie Murphy.
Sure it's not Bill Murray?
No, it's a black guy. It's
Okay.
Eddie Murphy. So he plays.
Because I know Bill Murray did A Razor's Edge, which was a serious role, and it was,
he did a movie where he was like a philosopher. And he was very quiet. It wasn't 1,000 words, but he was very quiet, shy, and reserved. And there's a scene in this movie that for some reason it always stuck with me, where he ended up accidentally on like a QVC home shopping style network. And he was talking to the people at home, and he got this chainsaw, and he was like sawing stuff off on the set. And they were talking about how they had more people watching that than anything they'd ever watched before. And he said, if I showed up with this chainsaw and I offered you to do one of two things, A, destroy the entire set with this chainsaw, or B, carve an exact replica of the Venus de Milo or whatever out of a tree trunk with this chainsaw. He said, most of you would rather watch me destroy the set with a chainsaw because we have gotten to this point where we'd rather see chaos and destruction than creation. And he said that's why the ratings are so high. And it was just this like moment that kind of made you about, because I realized in that moment, yeah, I can watch these guys, these athletes who have been training for years and years for this one race. This is it. This is their whole career right here. And for a second in my brain, instead of going, wow, I hope these guys run the time of their life for all this training they're doing, my thought was, wow, I hope they hit each other because that would be different.
And see, you saying that reminded me of my 10th grade English teacher who was fond of saying, if I pulled a gun out and blew Reitzel here away, everybody in this room would do exactly as I say. That's what control is.
The hell kind of teachers were you growing up with, man?
He also called us worthless bags of parasitic fertilizer.
He probably should have found a new job, I think.
He also said his dog was smarter than us. We pranked him one time and asked if we could talk to the dog.
Ladies and gentlemen, the state of Ohio is broken down.
It's a bad, well, it was a long time ago, and it's a bad part of the city, admittedly.
Can we repeat that story you just told me?
Yeah, I don't care.
Lonzo
I've
just
talked
told
about it
me
on the air before, so yeah, I can do it.
that one of his teachers said his class was a bag of parasitic.
Worthless bag of parasitic fertilizer. And
Worthless.
ask us to prove that what he was saying wasn't true.
First off, fertilizer by definition cannot be parasitic. Those are exact opposites. They're mutually exclusive. Second off, how old were you when this happened?
This was like 1983 or 1984, and that's how it stuck with me. It definitely stuck with me.
How old were you? Like what grade was this?
10th or 11th grade. It might have been 11th grade.
So in 10th or 11th grade,
So
a teacher
I
once
was
told Youngzo
probably 15.
that he was equivalent to a bag, a worthless bag, which, by the way,
Worthless bag of parasitic
parasitic fertilizer,
yes.
by definition, it would be worthless already. Second off, those two things can't be. So this is like a huge bag of impossibility. But
Man, I'd love to get you two together. It'd be wonderful.
the point is, the hell was going on in the state of Ohio in 1984?
Well, it was the equivalent of an English honors class here. So yeah, it was yeah.
Okay.
He also had anti-disestablishmentarianism on his spelling test every week. Never got it. I do believe, by the way, that I spelled it right before. I just think he
Got it. Nailed it. Got it. I can do it.
Well, we can talk about the other thing also, which in this day and age would
Yeah, I'm a
be a
little more
lawsuit.
uncomfortable with that
Yeah,
one, to tell you the truth.
Every once in a while, he would say, if I pulled a gun out of my briefcase here and blew Reitzel away, everyone in this room would do exactly what I say.
Do you see why people make fun of Ohio, Lonzo?
Well, and the thing is, a smart move to take me out first because I was the biggest threat. Literally, I was the biggest threat. I'm in a room with a bunch of nerds, and I'm a scholar athlete. I mean, you take out the big guy first.
Yeah, no, that's. I'm very much not having an issue with his tactics, Lonzo.
By the way,
the teacher standing in front of a 10th or 11th grade class and saying, "If I shoot the big guy, you'll all listen to me then, won't you?"
it made me uncomfortable, I've got to admit.
Yeah, it should have.
I also had a teacher go crazy one time and said he was going to kill everybody in the room, and then he stood outside the door. And everyone thought for sure that he had a knife. And same high school, by the way. And kids were talking about jumping off the second. We were on the second floor. They would jump out the window. He went away the next day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then we had substitutes that felt so bad about it. We got to have parties every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ohio.
Well, so if you wonder why I am the way I am, that's part of it.
Yeah, I've just forgiven you for so many things. For everything you have done and will done, you are forgiven from me, Lonzo.
I will say that this guy was the first teacher, all that aside, who encouraged battles of wits.
Yeah.
Which made you think, and yeah, I know he threatened to kill me multiple times, but put that aside.
Yeah, just brush that onto another plate.
Bad neighborhood, man. That's like a daily thing. So you just push that aside, and yeah. And we prank called him one time and asked to talk to his dog, and he laughed and said he's busy working on his thesis. So we didn't get to talk to the dog.
I don't know what to say about any of this.
The bad part is I wish I was making it up, but I'm not. I'm absolutely not making it up. My wife went to the same school, which is why she's commenting right now on the stream. So yeah, it was interesting.
I got nothing. I don't.
I remember his name to this day. I remember what he looks like to this day.
He threatened to shoot you, I would think.
Multiple times, yes.
I very rarely run out of words, but here we are.
And you wonder why I don't like hugs.
Here we are. Yeah, all of you coming to the game Thursday, do not hug Lonzo. I'm worried now. Texter says ESPN, the Viking coach, got another job in the organization, so they aren't even sticking to their guns. I mean, they are. There's a protocol the NFL put in place that said if you don't get vaccinated, you're tier 2, which means you can be an advisor / supplemental coach, and that's what they did. Promise you ain't getting paid as much. Quick break. Twitter trending topics next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
See, now I'm wondering if that dude's still alive.
I'm going with no as a hard A.
He moved on and I believe was a college professor. So, well, if he's a college professor, he's got tenure. He can say anything he wants. So.
Reaching the radio is hard.
I'm real comfy under these covers and I can't reach the radio. Then throw on a robe and get out of bed. Well, I never. Then maybe you should.
Alexa may be sassy, but she can help as well.
Just ask it, I will play the radio for you.
When you can't reach the radio, ask Alexa to play it for you. Alexa, play ESPN Upstate.
Okay.
And listen to the Upstate sports leader without moving a muscle.
Great idea until atrophy sets in.
ESPN Upstate.
Research 82% of people remember radio lines. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will know that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio, like where this ad plays. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply. 82% of you will also know that I live with my mom. But the most important thing to know is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? Hit ZipRecruiter.com.
Yeah, my wife just reminded me of another teacher who would throw trash cans at students. And one day he got mad because we weren't chanting loud enough, which is how he had you memorize algebra.
Right.
Chanting like Pythagorean theorems and all that kind of stuff. So he took his chair back, and as hard as he could, he rammed the desk, and the front part of the desk like flew off and hit people and stuff. And
The hell,
he also
man?
threw his trash cans out the window and stuff. It was. I remember his name too.
Yeah, I would think. You tend to remember traumatic experiences.
I didn't like that class very much. I would tell you I like that class less than the guy who threatened to shoot me all the time. Because at least that class was intellectually challenging. The other one is just like, I guess you work on your reflexes, having to avoid debris and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's your benefits from school.
Hey, you
Go
know,
to school with a degree and a black belt.
that would have helped actually, probably. Learning algebra today? No, but my hand-eye, man, it's getting there. See, these are things that if I found out my kids were going through this, there definitely would be lawsuits and all that kind of stuff. And I don't even think I told my mom about it. So it was just so normal. He just didn't say anything.
Ooh, she's a little runaway.
Really?
It was on in the bathroom.
Okay. All right. I get it then.
She's a little runaway. Bum-bum.
That's funny. She said she hated that class too. I'm sure she did.
Yes. You know who else did? Every other kid in that class.
Yeah, everyone in the class. I don't
Hated
think
that class.
I don't think there's anyone fond of them. Also, one of a couple guys who was right there when I would go out on the field for football, just give me the, you got this thing. It's like, yeah, thank you. All right, it's time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internet. And I will say, if the internet existed back in the day, all my teachers would be trending right now, without a doubt.
Lonzo tells me another story during the break where teachers were slamming chairs into desks and whatnot because the kids couldn't correctly recite algebra formulas.
Yes, and throwing trash cans.
Golly.
Which may be another reason why I love the certain wrestling matches. All right, the first thing that's trending, speaking of wrestling or former wrestlers, Batista.
Batista's trending because he has appeared in a commercial for Netflix or one of the streaming services, Disney Plus. I didn't see it, but he's in like a fake wig and mustache and beard. I have to tell you, Dave Batista is cooler as a Twitter actor and cinematic actor than he was as a wrestler, and he was a cool wrestler. All right.
I haven't listened to the sound, but I have watched it, and it's him as an old guy out in the woods by himself. He's got a ponytail and he's fishing and talking about the Disney app and the bundle with Hulu and ESPN Plus. Yeah. It looks pretty good. I can't wait to hear the sound. All right, the next thing that's trending is Bob Odenkirk.
So Bob Odenkirk was filming a scene for one of his television series, and right after the scene was done, he passed out and just went to the ground, was transported via ambulance to the hospital. Have been no updates since this happened. Bob Odenkirk has really busted on the scene the last couple of years, ever since showing up in Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad a few years ago. Really busted his chops as a comedian. I did a phenomenal job in a cameo role on The Office for one episode. A lot of folks, myself included, thought that when Michael Scott left, that Bob Odenkirk should have been brought in to replace him as the head office in Scranton, head manager of the office in Scranton. But yeah, just kind of scary. And the fact that the way that Twitter is frequently updated with information that nobody knows how they get, that there have been zero updates about Bob Odenkirk since he was taken to the hospital is a little scary, to tell you the truth. So send our best wishes to Bob Odenkirk. Hope my dude pulls out all right, man. Guy's been on a roll lately. You get one more bonus hour of Rob Brown. I'll be filling in with Diesel for the next hour. Dan Scott, voice of Furman football, will be filling in for the back 3 hours. We're back right after this on the Rob Brown Show / Offsides right here on ESPN Upstate, brother.